Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Phenomenal Women. Today we're featuring Phenomenal Women Zimbabwe, and we have 4 lovely ladies that are going to be sharing with us their experience during this COVID time, challenges and lessons that we can learn from in different areas in our career and business, in the humanitarian sector, and as working professionals. But before we start with the presentations, allow me first to invite Lisa Sekaja, who is the founder of Phenomenal Women Global, to just say something and tell us about Phenomenal Women. Thank you. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. I am in Geneva, but we have people from all over the world, in Zimbabwe, in Uganda, I can see in France. So welcome. I am the co-founder of Phenomenal Women Global. This is an organization that was founded about 3 years ago, mainly to advance, connect, and empower women of all backgrounds. And at Phenomenal Women, we focus on enhancing women's capacity and professional development in order to work with them to become socially conscious global leaders. And so we have focal points around the world in the US, in Switzerland, in London, in Southern Africa, and in Uganda. And every year we have a leadership conference in all these 3 countries. But because COVID has struck us, we're unable to do physical conferences this year, and we decided to do a series of webinars on different issues and different issues in each country. So this webinar, which is led by Emily, who is our focal point in Zimbabwe, but is facing a few technical issues, is bringing together women from Zimbabwe to discuss all their experiences with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic as professional women in different fields. So the title, Evolve or Risk Becoming Extinct, is the key message that we are portraying in this respect. I'm sorry about that. So I would like to hand over back to Diana so that she can moderate and introduce the participants, who will then speak about their different experiences in Zimbabwe, how they have been handling the pandemic, what it means to their professions, give advice to women on how to take advantage and seize the opportunities during this period. So I hand back over to you, Diana. Is she there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Lisa. And before we start, I want to just ask all of you who haven't muted to mute unless you're speaking. And then I want to first of all recognize Emily. Emily is going to be joining us soon. As Lisa said, she's the focal point in Zimbabwe, and she covers Southern Africa. So she's really been the driver behind that region. Emily is a lawyer by training, and has been spearheading Phenomenal Women there. In addition to being a lawyer, she's a speaker, a professional speaker, a coach, and has been the driver for Phenomenal Women. So allow me, first of all, as Emily connects, let me introduce the 3 ladies, but I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves actually as they start. But just to tell you a little bit about them very briefly, and they will add on more to that. We have 3 speakers today. We have Sympathy. Sympathy is an author. She's a published author. She's a winner of a humanitarian award. She's an entrepreneur and a founder of Amandla Brands, and she'll be telling us a bit more about that and her experience now during this COVID pandemic. Then we'll have Cleo. Cleo works in a humanitarian field, and she's worked there for 15 years, working on development work. She's an advocate for gender equality and a human rights activist, a women's activist. So we're very pleased to have Cleo here. She'll also be sharing with us. And then lastly, we have Sibo, who is in the telecom and marketing sector. She's a communication expert. She also is a coffee counselor, and she'll tell us a bit about that, and a small business advisor. So thank you, ladies. We're so happy to have all of you here to share with us all the way from Zimbabwe. And just to let you know, you're sharing to a number of audiences. So it's really a global conversation we're having here. So to start with, I'd like to invite Cleo. Please turn on your camera. I would like to invite you first to speak. Thank you very much and welcome, Cleo.
Thank you, Diana. Colleagues, how are you? I'm happy to be on this platform. Thank you, Liz, for extending the invitation. I hope I will share briefly in terms of my experience as you have requested. And like what Diana said, I work in the gender and women empowerment field, where my day-to-day work is an interface with women from across different sectors and backgrounds. And I've worked with government, I've worked with the UN, I've worked with independent commissions. So that is briefly my background. So I'll try and address the key issues that I've been requested to share. I hope that it will be as practical as possible. I don't want it to be very theoretical in approach. So in terms of what has been the experience, women who are working, who resonate with workload. Because normally I would wake up, go to work and do my work, but right now working from home, and it means that I have to attend so many Zoom meetings, and I'm telling you, it has been a roller coaster ride from our part, especially from the field that I'm coming from, in as much as we have COVID, because we are directly responsible of responding to any humanitarian crisis or any crisis that threatens people. So with the advent of COVID, we had to make sure that we are there, we reprogram, and we see how our programs, the programs that we do, also directly respond to the challenges that women and girls were facing because of COVID. So what it then meant for me personally, it meant a lot of work, because I had to relook at the programs, because usually you have your 1 year work plan which you are working on, and all of a sudden you have COVID. It means you need to rethink, because you need to respond. You can't just sit and say, I'll wait for COVID. The initial response was quite interesting, because during the first week, we thought, okay, this was going to pass. It was just one of those things that will come and go. You know, we have been through Cyclone Idai, different disasters. We thought, okay, COVID will come and go. Little did we know that 2 months down the line, we'll be still reprogramming around COVID, trying to see how best do we respond to the current crisis. So for me, at a personal level, I've had to really adjust my schedule, where I'm working from home. I have kids, you know, schools have closed. They are now doing the virtual learning also, where you have to monitor. So I think there is that increase in burden of unpaid care work. So I would say, where there are so many things that are expected of you as a woman. The minute you are in that, in the home, there are certain things that are expected of you to do, and work has to go on. So it has been really an interesting period from that front. And what we have seen, what I've seen is, I think it has forced us to do a reality check in terms of, okay, what is it that we are programming around in the humanitarian sphere? Is it really responding to the needs. And I think most people that are in my field will attest to that, to say we really had to sit down and really introspect to say, okay, how are we programming in terms of responding to the different challenges women and girls are facing? So it has called upon us to really read and to also explore other innovative ideas in terms of how to also be in line with what is happening. And the group that we specifically directly respond to, these are women and girls. When you talk of the virtual, where we are now looking at virtual meetings and all that, and it's something that we are increasingly realizing that, okay, we need new strategies on how to really respond. So from that front, for me, it has been a really interesting period, which has seen lots of pressures, both from the professional side and from the personal. So that's one area. Then I'll move to the other issue in terms of, okay, what is it that we are seeing on the ground in terms of COVID response, apart from my own experiences, which might be very different from what other women out there are facing. And for me, fortunately, like I said, I work with women, and what we have seen in terms of the impact of COVID is, especially the sector that I directly look at, around the informal sector and entrepreneurs. In the case of Zimbabwe, we've seen most people have lost their livelihoods, and there are so many fears, uncertainties. There are so many regulations that government is putting in place, which people are not really sure what these regulations mean and what are the implications. Because so many times what we have tended to see, we put in place laws and regulations, but we then don't really zoom in and see how these laws and regulations really affect the women on the ground. And that's the constituency that I'm mostly interested in. So what we have tended to see within like the Zimbabwean context is, because of COVID, we had to come up with regulations around social distancing, regulations around, okay, which businesses are allowed to operate, which ones are not allowed to operate. In the process of that, we have seen so many women being affected, loss of livelihoods. And this group, when we look at issues of social security, literally most of them don't have any social security measures or social protection measures in place. So what we have seen is there's been an increase in a loss of livelihood and suffering amongst this group. And from a development point of view, it has challenged us also to rethink and relook at how we program around women's economic empowerment. How do we factor in issues of resilience and make sure that whether it's a GBV program, whatever program that we come up with, the aspect of resilience is very key. And this is one of the key lessons that I've learned and that we are seeing, where I think we are increasingly being called upon to really relook at our programs, our frameworks. Are they really responding to the general people on the ground? And what we have seen with COVID, those frameworks, programs have been found wanting. And it's a gap. And within the sector, we are in a reactive mode where we are trying to see, okay, how do I move this? How do I support this? Of which naturally, this is not supposed to be happening. So it has been a learning curve, I must say, even in terms of response, because I think we are so much used to humanitarian response, which is related to issues of climate change. But from a health point of view, it's something that we had not really adjusted our programs or even our line of thinking. So it has been an interesting period where we have had time to really, like I've said, to really introspect and look at what is happening. And maybe the other issue may be around the fears that are there. What we are seeing on the ground is, there's limited resources, definitely, because the magnitude of the challenge is so huge. So you would then notice, both from the fiscus, from the government, when you look at it, it's inadequate. Whatever that response that is going in to assist people that have lost their livelihoods and that are currently vulnerable, the assistance is still it's still not enough. And when you come also from the donor side or the development partner side, even the interventions that are there, they are still not adequate. So it's also an issue of really relooking at what is it that we are going to prioritize moving forward, and what is it that we are really going to focus on, and what are the key issues. So for me, I take, in as much as we are in this space from a humanitarian point of view, where we have so many women that have been affected at different levels and through different challenges, but it's also giving us an opportunity to really reflect in terms of what is it that we are doing? How are we going to strengthen interventions moving forward? Issues of HR, issues of sexual and reproductive health rights needs, where the lockdown has happened and people are not able to access such essential services. And yet, I know most governments or most policymakers, they had not looked at that from that lens to say this is an essential service, but now increasingly we are seeing this is really an essential service. We are having to adapt and to change. So for me, basically that's what I would share. Maybe one of the things that I would maybe recommend moving forward at different levels. The recommendations will come at different levels. At an individual level, fellow women, I know women, we are not a homogeneous group, and we can't all be classified under the same group. So for me, it's how do we empower ourselves to be resilient? And there are so many means and ways that we can do that. And because this is, like I said, we are not a homogeneous group. When you look at women who are maybe from a certain social class or who are at a certain level, there are certain other innovative strategies like internal lendings and saving schemes that have proved to be quite useful tools that facilitate that. How do you actually improve your social security, your social insurance? Because I think COVID has taught us a lesson that we are all vulnerable one or the other, but what we need is how do we make sure that we become resilient to any shock, whether it's through climate, whether it's through a pandemic like what we are facing. So increasingly, I think it's a conversation that we should then have to say, how do we support each other to make sure that we have that resilience no matter whatever situation that we face. So it's one of those recommendations that I put up there. Then for the institutions, the governments and all that, I think the recommendation is clear and straightforward. We need to make sure that we increase allocations to social sectors, your health, your labor and all that. So it's one of those things that I think we have talked about it over the years, but it has remained talk. And I think moving forward is how do we make sure that it translates from being just talk, but we really push for increased financing towards, for me, because that's the field that I'm coming from, towards gender equality and ensuring that social services are adequately financed, because this is where most of the gender gaps, where most of the women really continue to face challenges. So that's what I would share for now. This is my experience, and these are the proposals that I'll proffer. Like I said, COVID is a learning curve, and we are learning as we go. One positive thing that has come out of COVID, which might not be related to work, what I've noticed is I think it has given people time to breathe. And it's something that I think we really needed as a society, where we really had to stop and really think, what is it that we are doing? We had not had that time. It has managed to get people to really focus on certain things, to really think, okay, what is it that I'm doing? How am I supposed to do it better? Because somehow the world stopped, and we all stopped with the world, and we had time to reflect, and families had time to really reconnect from a positive side. That's my experience. Thank you, Diana. That's what I'll share for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. I think that was excellent. Thank you so much. I like the way you brought out the fact that we need to look at our workplace. So look at the people who we work with. And in your case, it's the women and the children, and say during this COVID time, are we actually reaching them? And how do we reach the vulnerable groups? So I think that's a good perspective. We always, many times we tend to look at ourselves, how are we dealing with COVID? But also where we work, how do we reprogram? How do we think differently? How do we reach the people in need? And I like some of the proposals that you gave about lending, so increasing their ability to save and be resilient. I think that's good food for thought, and we will have some questions for you. But let me hand over to Emily. Emily has joined us. So let me hand over to Emily, and Emily, you can introduce the next speaker. Thank you very much. Emily, over to you.
Thank you, Diana. I hope you can hear me well now. Please just give me your feedback so that I can be sure. Okay, thank you so much. So I'll just go directly into introducing the next speaker. We're going to have Sympathy. Sympathy is an author. She's an award-winning entrepreneur, and she's going to be speaking to us from the perspective of how COVID-19 is. She is the founder of a brand for wealth. She's even planning to expand to both Botswana and Zambia. We've been seeing her on social media, and what she's been posting and the work that she's been doing, even in this pandemic. She's been doing trainings for women, and she mostly focuses on economic empowerment of women. So over to you, Sympathy. Can you please just introduce yourself as well? Maybe I might have left anything, and then get into the conversation and give us your own perspective on this topic we're sharing today. Well, Sympathy, you've muted your mic.
Go ahead, Sympathy.
All right, hi, Emily. Hi, everyone. I'm joining you from Harare. And I think you have aptly described who I am and what I do. The best thing about me is that I am versatile and I love doing so many things at the same time. I get bored easily doing just one thing or chasing just one trade. So yes, we are a serial, I call myself a serial entrepreneur to describe exactly what I do. And then also we're a multi-award winning enterprise. So we are only close to 3 years old, but we are taking the industry. And then comes COVID. So we had all these plans at the beginning of the year. We're thinking we're going to expand into different countries. We're going to start pushing our exports. We're also going to start even in the also going to push our products everywhere. And then entered COVID, and then just the world just stopped there. And then said, okay, here we are. What are we going to do? So what I'll say is, I mean, I really have to thank God for a lot of things. Like we used to do trainings and research. We try different places, and I think the last one that we did, we went to Buhera, and we went there and trained some women on entrepreneurship, like running. What we do is we train not only to use or manufacture peanut butter and other products, but what we do is we train people on the various aspects of business, like development, financial literacy, and also like running viable businesses. So many businesses just are started and then people run them for a few months, and then down the line they're gone. So that's what we have been doing. But now we have taken the training, we have adapted and using the cyberspace as a very good space, and we have taken those trainings online. So the great thing that has happened is, like, so much has been happening that we are getting clients from all these countries, at a very minimal cost on our part. We used to use our budgets and have these heavy budgets for travel, communication, but now all we need is our phones, using our WhatsApp, and then impact all these like women and men from different countries. And it's so exciting to, every day we're getting feedback from various women who are telling us on the brands that they have started, like from Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, and different other countries, and even Zimbabwe. I am so, so proud. So the biggest lesson that the COVID is that we need to adapt. We don't need to just put our hopes and everything that we do into one space and to think we are safe, because today it's COVID, but what's coming tomorrow, you never know. So it's about your business in a space where you know it can exist anyway and anyhow, and also not being too rigid and too traditional. I mean, just know how to respond to any disasters. So it's very imperative that in any business, or in any business, whether startups, small, micro, and the big businesses, we all should have a research components or research budget in whatever we do, so that we are researching on dangers, disasters. We are researching on possible means of expansion, such that not taken by surprises in the environment or in the fiscal policies that happen in our country or beyond. So the other lesson that I would want, that we have discovered at Amandla Brands, that I would want to teach you, everyone that is running business, is that our clients right now, they are price sensitive and they also love convenience. We are a few people that are traveling, so what you offer your clients? You still need to reach all those clients that you used to reach before, but now you're on lockdown and your clients may not be able to go to the supermarkets, may not be able to go to the retail sector where they used to get your products or whatever service they used to get from you. So what do? Offer convenience. At Amandla Brands, what we've been doing is that we've been getting we've been doing delivery services to our clients, and also we have also come up with ways of empowering other people and encouraging that they have entrepreneurship programs by themselves. So we are making peanut butter at a subsidized cost, so that people that are interested in having another livelihood, or those that have lost their jobs, will be able to sell this cost. So in business, you need to look at your business and think, how can I offer convenience to people? How can I empower women? How can I empower the vulnerable in the society? How can I empower the most affected in society? So your business is not only going to be a for-profit business, but also going to see how you can practice social entrepreneurship. And then what is very close to my mind is taking care of each other. Like these are very difficult times. You see, so many people are very stressed wherever they are. Ask yourself, as a business, how are you going to take care of other people's mental being, as well as yourself, as well as your employees? What measures are you going to take? I may not be able to tell you exactly what you need to do, because what exactly that you do in your own business, but it's very imperative to set up something that takes care of the mental health of you as the entrepreneur, and also other people that you encounter. I think this summarizes what we have been doing at Amandla Brands, and what I think other businesses can also.
Emily?
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much, Sympathy. You raised quite a number of points on how businesses can adapt to these times that we are finding ourselves in. Firstly, before I give feedback on your contribution, I'd like to say that the beauty of this webinar is that we are trying to embrace the diversity that the different roles that women find themselves in. We have professional women, we have career women, we have women in business, we have women who are also in the humanitarian space, and we are realizing that the impacts of COVID-19 are not the same for each and every woman out there. It depends with the sphere in which you find yourself in. So I would like to thank Sympathy for that feedback that represents the kind of challenges that women in business are facing. Just to reiterate some of the points, you spoke about the fact that there's need to adapt, and you also mentioned the fact that we need to turn to social entrepreneurship, whereby it's not only about how your business is functioning, the sales, but we also look at how your clients are doing in these times, and to try and consider ways to reach out to them and empower them in terms of their mental health as well. And that is quite powerful, and we'd like to thank you so much for giving us that feedback that represents women in business. In the interest of our time, I would like to ensure that we move to the next speaker, and we're going to be having Sibonginkosi Mteiwa. She is representing Women in Career as someone who is currently the head at Portras. Her portfolio is marketing, because Sibonginkosi is a creative marketer. She's a small business advisor, and she is also a coffee counselor. And I think she'll tell us more about what she does, both personally and professionally. Sibonginkosi, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Emily. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this very interesting conversation, which I believe is very critical and important for the well-being of women. I think my colleagues, Emily and Diana have already mentioned, I think even mentioned that I'm in the telecommunications sector, particularly in the regulatory environment, which is the Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe. I'm also basically in that space as a marketer, communications expert, and also a PR practitioner as well. But besides that, because I also had an innovation element of the Portras portfolio. So I deal a lot with young people in terms of promoting their businesses and finding funding for them, especially those who are innovating around the technology sector. I'm also a coffee counselor. I think where we have noticed that besides the fact that COVID-19 happened, a lot of women find it very difficult to speak and share their issues with family and friends. And sometimes they look for a stranger really just to be able to stand in the gap of advisory as an advisor, whether it's business or social issues or marital issues, I think, or relationship issues really. I think it's something that has been quite rampant, especially in Zimbabwe, where we've had a number of economic challenges. Well, moving on to the issue of COVID-19. Well, COVID-19 happened in, I think in most countries like Zimbabwe in February, March, we started hearing about COVID-19. And for me, because I've been working for the past over 25 years now, and really because I've been in the NGO sector, in the development sector, in mining, and in telecommunications, they're really pretty very busy sectors. And so I cannot remember when I last had proper leave, like take leave and go and rest. So when our country and our country's president announced that we were going on lockdown, I was excited. I think the first thing was like, phew, you know, at least finally I can get to have a legal, you know, rest and a break, which will take me, you know, so maybe a few weeks or so to recuperate and find myself. And so I was excited really at first. And also because I had been traveling quite a bit, you know, around the world in my capacity as an international relations and marketing head. So so when we then started, you know, the lockdown, I think the first week, the strain of working from home, and also trying to balance between being a mom and also being a working executive, it was a nightmare. I think really we can all attest to this. I don't know, maybe others it was easier than others, but for me, I discovered that it was a nightmare. I didn't know how to keep my kids away from the camera when I'm in a webinar or I'm in a Zoom meeting or whatever. It was just a struggle, you know. So besides struggling to maintain family and also the mental health issues, where a lot of us as women, we were worried about, okay, as the COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc around the world and the lockdowns are persistent, what does it mean in terms of my job security? So for me, a lot of women who are in my sector or at the level in my career, I think most of them were really looking at the challenges of job security, the challenges of you know, job hiring freezes, the issues of layoffs, loss of savings and investments. You know, stock markets were crashing, others had invested in that area. So it was really a challenge for a lot of women who are my peers in my sector and also outside my sector who are in corporate. So it was really a big challenge to look at, okay, what do we do now that the lockdowns have persisted? So I think that's one of the areas that have been worrying a lot. And just to remember also that as a marketer, 57% of marketers across, especially in my country, but I know that globally, are women. And you know, I think around the same amount in the, you know, in the hospitality industry. They are also in the health sector as nurses, as, you know, nurse aides and things like that. So a lot of women were strained in terms of the expectation, both at home, like I said earlier on, in terms of the expectation to balance between work and being a mom. Because as you know that when you are a mom, and you are a family person, you are expected to carry certain responsibilities at home. So I realized that, you know, besides the other issues that were worrying me in my mind in terms of job security and other issues that I've mentioned, a lot of women have shared that they were you know, expected to carry on with their, you know, with their chores at home. Like for instance, before we could just stay in the office, work late, and then come home and you're tired, you probably just find food already ready. But when you're at home, people expect you to continue with the household chores as a mom, to plan the meals, to also be working at the same time, to look after the kids when the child is crying. Even the help expects you to you know, to rush and say what's happening to the child. You also want to have a home office locked, but your kids are knocking on the door and you want some privacy. So those are some of the challenges for me that I experienced as we were working from home. Yes, the celebration mood suddenly just went away, because then the reality then comes to fore. As a marketer, really, I think the challenger, the biggest challenge was the fact that a lot of companies went on lockdown, and we were used to the analog way of operating. So technology just literally took over, and we were now expected to have our brands present online and competing with international brands. Because when you're online, you're not only just selling to people in Zimbabwe or in Kenya or Nairobi or Malawi or anything like that, or any country really. You are now looking at a global market. So what it means is that you're looking at the standards of your product. You're also looking at your quality as well, and the kind of platforms that you're putting your product in. Do you have your social media platforms ready to market? What kind of following do you have? Your issues of analytics. How are you measuring whether your product hits are there, whether you're converting those hits into a proper sale or whatever? So we really had to move from strategy side of things to tactics, really to rely more on tactics, because they were quicker and more relevant for the time that we are in right now. So it's actually also has brought in an element of the global market space, where our brands and our products are now competing internationally. It's a big challenge because I think, as you know, especially for small businesses, as you know, that usually the quality of products is really not targeting international markets, mostly, especially for entrepreneurs. It's targeting the local market, where you can explain yourself why your product is not as high in terms of standards or not. You can sell it verbally, or you can put it in a boot of a vehicle and sell it at work or at church. Those platforms were no longer available, or are no longer available at the moment. Be able to in terms of social media and online presence, do you have your keywords that make sure that you are connected, appropriately to your the activities that are there on your social media platform. Any return? Is it like if you have a website, or your SOE in place, so that people can find you, and if they find you, how are they conversing with your brand and your product? So those are some of the issues that have happened. But on a positive note, we have seen that there is, I think, especially in Zimbabwe, I'm not sure really about in other countries. In Zimbabwe, there's been an increase in terms of appointing women or marketers into key positions as advisors, even at board level. Why? Because I think because most women are most marketers are women. Seen an increase in terms of occupation or seats for women, especially in Zimbabwe. So that has been a positive. But the issues of opportunities for women to evolve and to make themselves relevant. I think the issue of upskilling, for me, this has been a time for me to rethink my career, to refocus and to evolve really, and to think about how do I want post-COVID to project myself, to which space do I want to be in? Do I want to have extra skills? And for instance, I actually have done a few online courses that are available, like digital marketing, public speaking, things like that, that are very relevant to my career, to my profession, but at the same time, relevant to the time that we are in, a time of crisis. So that's the issue. From a telecom perspective, we have seen an increase in terms of adoption of technology. A lot of people are online. So what it means is that we have to upscale our policies as governments and also as a regulator to make sure that our consumers are protected. There's issues of cybersecurity. A lot of people or trolls have been, a challenge in terms of, going after, especially kids, because education, businesses are online as well. So there's those issues that we have looked at as an organization as well, as a telecoms regulator. We have really done a lot in our country to make sure that children are protected online. We have recently launched a child online guidelines in terms of how to assist parents to support their children and to guard against cyber criminals that are trolling and disturbing our children online. So those are some of the issues that I can talk about. I think 15 minutes, I'm trying to compress everything in 15 minutes. Opportunities, there's opportunities, especially in the technology sector, to innovate around healthcare systems. I think you've seen that most countries were caught unawares in terms of how to deal with COVID-19. I believe that, I think as one of the previous speakers has spoken, we don't know which other crisis is going to come, so it's better to be prepared. So I think there's an opportunity for technopreneurs to innovate around healthcare, to innovate around software and hardware, to innovate around, even manufacturing sector where you do things faster and better. So to have such innovations that assist countries to be better prepared in the future for any crisis. So really, I think for now, that's what I can share on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sibo, for giving us that contribution from a woman who is in career. You tried rather to embrace all of the roles that you play, from being a marketer to being someone who is in the telecommunications industry, and we're very grateful for that diverse knowledge that you shared with us today. And really, I'd just like to emphasize on the fact, on some of the things that you spoke about, especially the idea of upskilling, that this has been an opportunity for women in whatever space you find yourself in, to be embracing the digital space, to be taking up online courses so that you can advance yourself in relation to whatever field that you are in. And it's also a time to pause and really reflect on how to map your career, your business, to really consider career development and all of those things that you mentioned, and that is quite important. And as well, the issue of the rise of technopreneurs as well. So that has been quite an interesting feedback interesting feedback that we've gotten from our different speakers, who have been a representation of experience, exposure, as well as expertise. Kudos to you. So I did not see any comments in the comments section. I do not know if anyone has any questions that they would like to put across for any of our speakers, to just whether on the things that they've spoken about, or on any other issue that we might want to talk about, since we are in this dialogue today, that we can be able to ask them about their personal businesses, their whatever that they do, or the things that we might want to find out from them. For me, I just have a question for Cleo. You spoke about how most of the things that are happening require the intervention of, for instance, the government or people that are in spaces of influence. So I would really want to understand that from your point of view, from a humanitarian / development point of view, what do you think can be done by ordinary citizens or ordinary women for them to encourage, or I don't know if that's the right word, but for them to encourage this kind of dialogue so that the government or any other developmental institutions can be more forthcoming in bringing about the change that we are seeking, or in bringing about the kind of intervention that we are looking forward to them, especially, for instance, in issues that have to do with, the price hikes that have been there in terms of sanitary wear, and most people are found not being able to purchase such commodities that are so basic. So what do you think can be done to increase more interventions in that sphere?
Okay, thank you, Emily. Thank you for that question. There are so many things that can be done apart from us focusing on individual women. Okay, one of the things that we need to look at for women is how do we increase their voice and agency for them to independently act, because that's very key, in as much as we might push for certain changes, but increasingly I think there is that recognition that women should also own the agenda themselves, we should facilitate or make sure that we create platform where women also engage with different policymakers, because sometimes when I go as Cleo and speak to the different ministries and say, okay, this is what is happening, sometimes the strength of what I'll say might not even be that much. So when you get the actual people, the women themselves, to get the opportunity to engage with different policymakers and really express their issues or their challenges, it could be one of the effective ways that we can deal with that. But the question is, how do you create that space, or how do you create that platform? This is where I think within the context of Zimbabwe, it's something that we continue to grapple with, because the space is not really open, and the spaces the doors are slowly closing, if you get what I'm trying to say. So it's an issue of accountability. What accountability measures can we put both at the community level, where increasingly the community also is able to hold the different policymakers to account, and not only focus on government, but also even from development partners, from donor agencies, because support or resources come from different angles. But I think it's how do you hold the different stakeholders or the duty bearers, let me say, to account, to make sure that they actually follow through what most of these women are saying. So it's basically, for me, what I would say is we need targeted interventions to make sure that we increase their voice and agency, their ability to act, because in the absence of that ability to act on their issues, will continue the likes of me speaking on their behalf, which is fair and fine, but it might not be the most effective strategy. So it's programming around that social accountability and making sure that increasingly people understand their rights and they're able to pursue their rights. Yeah, I think that's how I would respond to you, to say, how do we make women's voice and agency, or support them in terms of making sure that they hold the different policymakers and stakeholders to account, which is an uphill task, but it's something that is being done and is still doable. Yeah. I think that's it, Emily, from me. I don't know if I've answered you, but we don't have a cast and stone answer. Anything, as long as it works. But what is important is women should own the agenda and they should push. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Cleo. This one is directed to Sibo. So Lisa says, hi, it's Lisa from Geneva. Which website do you advise people to do the online courses you mentioned? For example, public speaking. So Sibo, if you can come through for that.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Google Garage has a number of courses, so you can go on Google Garage, just Google Garage free courses. There's a few courses. I think the first one you will see is a digital marketing course with a certificate. So if you finish it, they'll send you a certificate that you've completed the course, which is internationally recognized, so you can actually use it as a qualification, because you'd have gone through 40 hours of training in digital marketing. Within the same Google Garage free courses, if you scroll down, you'll see a number of other courses like public speaking, like graphic designing, a whole lot of them that you can do. You could also explore Canva, C-A-N-V-A. They literally just take you through how you can do some basic digital graphic designing that you can use on a daily basis.
Thank you so much, Sibo. Okay, so this one is for Cleo again. It says, how do we reach the most vulnerable in cases where movement is restricted, like in the case of Uganda, and we are considering that these people are not on the internet?
Okay, thank you again for that question. What we have done in our case, as we have tried to make sure that we work with different implementing partners, these are civil society organizations, but at the same time also make sure that the different programs also fit into the whole government framework around COVID response, prevention and response. So in most cases, what we have tended to do is we have civil society organizations that have been permitted to work around that area, and some of them have received letters to reach out to the different groups that we'll be targeting. But I think it still remains a challenge, because even our reach is still limited, and it's based on where the implementing partner is geographically located or where the project is. So it still remains a challenge even in our case, and it's something, like I said, I think it was also a wake-up call, and it gave us more like a task to really rethink on how are we going to reprogram given the current challenges that we are facing. And it's an opportunity that we are looking at to say, how then do we also facilitate that women that are hard to reach have also access to internet facilities. And coming from an African continent, it might be something that it's a dream, but it's something that I think we hope we can pursue. It would be very difficult, because it will involve huge investments to make sure that we actually expand and make sure that internet services are available. The issue is now for us, it's another issue of affordability, because you might have the service, but the aspect of affordability, it's one of those things that we continue to grapple with. So it's also a challenge that we face. Yeah, thank you. Hi, Diana, did you get my response?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was very clear.
Okay, thank you. I thought I'd muted. Thank you.
No.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from the participants? We can take some questions. And I'm just checking the Facebook as well to see. Okay. Okay, I want to just share, as we continue the discussion, I want to just share a little bit about Phenomenal Women, and to also thank the ladies who have been here today to share with us your experience. It's been very exciting, and I think what is very enriching is to hear from other women in different countries. So that cross experience is very good. I enjoyed hearing about the tool to protect children on the internet. That's something that I think we'll follow up with you to see, you know, even in Uganda, how can we pick lessons from Zimbabwe about that? So we're really just here to share and learn from each other and to pick up different lessons of things that are applicable in our countries. And I want to just quickly share with you a short PowerPoint about Phenomenal Women for those who might be tuning in for the first time. So I'll share with you a screen to tell you a bit about Phenomenal Women and why we are here. Okay, so as we had said in the beginning, Phenomenal Women is a not-for-profit organization. It's based in Switzerland and in Uganda. We were established in 2018, and you heard from Lisa Sekaja, the visionary, and one of the co-founders in the beginning. In addition to Switzerland and Uganda, we have focal points in North America, in the United Kingdom, in Uganda, in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and France. So today, this was the session from the Zimbabwe team for us to hear and learn from the women in Zimbabwe. Previously, I think we had the US team sharing and the Uganda team. Tomorrow, we'll hear from the team in the UK, as well as towards the end of the week. So this week, we have both Zimbabwe and the UK Phenomenal Women group sharing later on. And the mission of Phenomenal Women is to connect, advance, and empower women and girls. Because we believe that by supporting each other, we will then be able to progress better in our professions, but also in our personal lives. So Phenomenal Women aims at developing leadership skills, coaching, and mentoring. And we're basically looking at women's empowerment. And most of our members are women, but we also have a number of men who support women and who are involved in empowering women. Because of the situation in the world, our target is predominantly women from underserved communities, especially African women and women of African descent, because we know that, you know, particularly now, even with the discussion on Black Lives Matter and all that, many times, first of all, women of color or Black women face a number of challenges, both in their own country because of the fact that they are women, but also abroad because of the fact that not only are they women, but they're also women of color or African women. So our target is predominantly those women from underserved communities, though we generally work with all the women around the world, and we have members from all the different countries. Some of the key activities that we do as Phenomenal Women are the annual leadership conferences that we have in each of those countries where we have presence. Every year there'll be a conference, and you're all invited to attend. If you're in the US, in the UK, or France, we'll share the calendar with where these conferences are happening, particularly after COVID. For now, we're doing a lot of this online. We also do mentoring and coaching programs that we run periodically, and you can register for those and be partnered or be connected with a mentor who will walk with you through your journey to improve your professional or personal skills. We also have a number of community and partnership programs, and one of those is a scholarship program, which is particularly for girls from underserved countries who may not be able to pay for their higher education. We feel that it's our duty and responsibility as people who have done a little bit better than some of our sisters to also help them by financing and covering their fees so that they can achieve more. because many times you find young girls with a lot of potential, but they just need someone to cover $100 of their fees for them to proceed and to progress and also have a successful life. So that is who Phenomenal Women is. We wanted to share that with all those who are joining us or who are watching this on Facebook and who will watch it later as well. We serve all the women, as we said, and we share information and build capacity with as many women as we can. And in order for us to do that, of course, it does have a financial cost on our side many times to cover the administrative costs, plus as well to cover the scholarship costs. So we have a membership fee that we charge for those who want to become members and contribute to the cause of Phenomenal Women, either as an individual or as an organization. For those who are outside Africa, it's $100, but if you're in Africa, it's $30 equivalent of your currency. And if you go to the website, you'll be able to log in and pay for your membership. Being part of the Phenomenal Women group, first of all, opens you up to the global family of women. We've interacted, we've met. It's been very beneficial for me to meet women from all over the globe, to work closely with them, to be mentored by them, to learn from them, because their experiences in different countries differ. And you don't need to be struggling with something when someone else has figured it out. So as part of the membership from Phenomenal Women, you'll be part of the global family. You'll have access to the mentoring and the coaching programs that we have. You'll have access to exclusive briefs and conferences with women experts. You'll be able to volunteer in any of our partner countries as well. So there are a number of benefits there, as well as for organizations to share and partner with the women that we have on this forum. So just to share with you the contacts, and we'll share these again after the presentation. You can go to our website, phenomenalwomenglobal.com, to read more about Phenomenal Women. You can also send us an email. The details are there. Please like our Facebook page, and the Facebook page is Phenomenal Women Global Geneva. So please ensure to like Phenomenal Women Global Geneva. We're also on other social media, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So please, those are our contacts, and we look forward to hearing from you. And maybe just before we end, to let you know about the different conferences that are happening. Tomorrow, there's one, and let me just pull out tomorrow there's one, which is from the Phenomenal Women Global Group, and it's being handled by the women who are based in the UK. And they will be looking at financial assistance through COVID. So they'll be looking at the financial aspects, particularly for businesses. And this is particularly of interest for those who will be joining from the UK, but it's open to everybody, and we will send again the flyer or the link for which you can participate in that. So that's tomorrow, 7 p.m. UK time, financial assistance through COVID. And then later in the week, we will have another presentation on representing yourself digitally. So digital representation for you and your business. And this will be on the 6th of July, again, being led by the London team. So that will be 6th of July, 7 p.m. from the London team. So please, we'll send this information, but do follow us and follow these discussions and learn from different people. So I think from my side and from here, from this side, that's all I have. If we don't have any other questions, I will just hand over to Emily. And just to thank Emily, first of all, as our host and our focal point for Zimbabwe and the Southern Africa, to thank Emily for organizing this event and bringing these three women, Cleo, Sympathy, and Sybil, to share your experience with us. I think it's been very enriching. Over to you, Emily, for any last words before we close. Thank you. Okay, if we can't get through to Emily. Okay, we can't get through to Emily. Lisa, any last words before we close?
Can you hear me? I just would like to say thank you to everyone who's attended. Again, a vote of thanks to Emily for her hard work on it. Thank you to all the Zimbabwe-based speakers. Cleo, it was nice to see you again. I met Cleo when we were in Zimbabwe at the UN office there. And so I'm really happy that you agreed to participate. Sibo and Sympathy, thank you so much. We would like you to join our movement. We need women like you, strong women with a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills to share. So we welcome you to continue to watch our webinars, go to our website and be part of the team, because we really benefited from you. And I personally learned so much. And I would just like to say thank you to all the participants who are here. As a follow-up from here, everybody who registered on Zoom will receive the links for the video, and we'll also just get a summary of what was discussed in a few paragraphs so that you can keep it with you. But the videos will be aired and on our Facebook page again, so people can watch them as well as the other videos that have taken place in the different regions. So thank you very much and have a good evening. Good night. Good night from Geneva, actually.
And good night from Kampala.
Thank you. Good night, colleagues. Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.